Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast, guys. If you would be so kind, would you mind introducing yourselves and the instrument that you play?
My name is Mark Oates, and I play drums.
I'm Todd Warner. I play guitar and do some backing vocals.
Yeah, I'm Steve Stanchek. I play bass, and I sing terribly in the background every once in a while.
Hey, I'm Justin, and Wailin Storms, and I play guitar, rhythm guitar, and lead vocal.
And what is the name of your band?
Wailin Storms.
So, thanks for doing this, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Let's give the listeners a little bit of background about your band. First of all, where are you guys based?
We're based in Durham, North Carolina. Yeah, it's like outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. It's kind of part of the Triangle, which includes Chapel Hill, Raleigh, and Durham. So it's a little small city of, I think it's around 450,000 people now. Do you know if that's right, guys?
I think it's 300,000, somewhere around there.
Okay, yeah.
And how would you describe the music that you make?
Steve, do you want to take this?
I know. It's funny because like everyone asks us this, and we struggle with it. Like, I mean, I've been playing in this band now for, I think 5 years, and like when someone says, "Oh, what do y'all sound like?" It's a struggle. It's a struggle, and I think what it is that we all have such divergent backgrounds. I mean, we obviously we connect over this band, and there's some music that we all listen to like cohesively amongst us. But man, like we're all coming from different places. We grew up around different areas in the country. It's really kind of a mix. But when I guess like when I try to explain it, I'm always like, well, it's really dark. There's just a swampy like vibe to it. There's elements of punk, elements of metal, post-punk. You know, it's all just kind of jumbled in there. And I think it's really, you know, the four of us coming together and all of our different backgrounds and mixing into this pot.
For sure. Yeah, people have described it as post-apocalyptic, you know, music, punk, doom rock, you know, Southern Gothic punk. So, you know, just a bunch of amalgam of things.
I like the term Southern Gothic punk. Would you guys say between all your backgrounds and all your interests, you have a shared appreciation of Danzig and Danzig's...
I think everybody does, but me.
Yeah.
Me and Justin, we connected actually. He had an ad out on Craigslist, and one of the but you had Sam Hain, I think, in that ad. But
yeah,
like
totally.
My response to him was, hey, like it was something like, you know, let's meet up and I'll tell you the story about how I met Danzig when I was 15. Or something like that, which we did when we were like kids, and it was hilarious. But yeah, it's like we love him, but he's also kind of like just this character that you just kind of got to laugh at because it's so over the top at the same time.
Yeah.
But man, I was just listening to Danzig, you know, like the self-titled like last week, and I'm like, oh, this is so good.
Oh yeah, Danzig 4 and before honestly is like. It's gold. All that shit's good. But after 4, yeah, I'm personally not a fan of his later work, you know, but Sam Hain's awesome. Misfits, most of Misfits is great. Some of it can get corny, but for the most part, Misfits is great.
Yeah,
Just probably my childhood.
I'm probably the only one in the band that hasn't listened to a whole Danzig album.
Oh, Mark, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were into Danzig, Mark.
Nah.
No? Okay.
I mean...
I'm not that familiar with Danzig.
But what about
there's some good stuff. But I don't have anything by him, or I don't think I've listened to a whole album.
I know I heard that there's some video that's making the rounds of him covering a Elvis song recently, and
that's his recent record.
Really,
yeah.
Oh, it was bad.
Yeah, it's real bad. Elvis, yeah, Danzig doing Elvis is not great. Yeah, that record's not great, from what I've heard.
So do you want to tell that story about meeting Glenn Danzig when you're 15?
Please, Steve. It's so good.
Yeah. So when we were kids, we were trying to figure out, we would do covers of, I think at that time we were doing, I think we were doing Samhain covers or something like that, like just in a punk rock band that I was in, and our drummer wrote away to Samhain at the time because we could never understand what the hell he was saying because he mumbles all of his lyrics. So he writes away and just, hey, it's like...
Well, I mean, obviously he's saying,
He's gonna kill us.
I still to this day just make up my own lyrics. Probably only a third of them are right, but
Sure.
yeah. So he literally writes him a letter and says, "Hey, can you send me the lyrics for like the couple songs that we were covering?" And he, instead of sending them back, I think it was like Yvonne, I think sent him something back. And along with it, they had something like Danzig had just started, like the band Danzig had just started, and apparently they were just picking anyone who they said it was random, like a random person, whoever writes to us will become the Danzig fan club, leader or ambassador for that area. But I think it was basically anyone who wrote to them. So we got this huge stack of Danzig flyers, like 300, like just black and white photocopies of Danzig. The drummer's like, man, what about? I don't want this. I don't want to be the leader of this. So just coincidentally, he came at the time I was living outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and he came to play the rave. And it was Danzig, it was their first tour, and it was Soundgarden opening up for them with Corrosion of Conformity opening up for them. And then there's this weird rap metal band called The Hardcore that was the opener. But so because my friend was the automatic Danzig fan club leader, we all got to go and meet him before the show. And there's a record shop called Earwaves in Milwaukee that we would go to all the time. It was this great local record shop. And anytime we would go, we were from the suburbs, so anytime we would drive into the city, we would go there because you could get just about anything. And we went there. It's this tiny little hole-in-the-wall shop. And we're just, kids. We're 15, 14 years old, and we're looking through the records. And Danzig and his crew comes in. And they just start going up. The guy that owned it, his name was Dave. He had all these bootlegs on the wall, and Danzig and his crew started taking all these Misfits and Samhain bootlegs off the wall and just snapping them in half, and just yelling at this fat record store owner guy and this old guy. We're like, "What the fuck? You got our records? What you selling our bootlegs for?" And they're just breaking shit, and we're freaked out. We're like 14 and weigh 110 pounds. We're like, "Oh shit, this is not gonna be good." So we're just kind of hiding in the back of this, but there's nowhere to hide, and we're just watching this whole thing. And they literally took all these records and just smashed them outside, and basically dared this guy to do anything about it. And then, literally 10 minutes later, we were supposed to meet them, for real, on the tour. So we went out. We were like, "Holy shit, what the fuck? Could we still do this?" And we're like, "Yeah, I guess." We didn't know any better. So we went to the rave, and we got on the tour bus, and they were playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on Nintendo, and they weren't very good at it. And it was just this awkward situation and conversation, because we were, I don't know, I guess cynical little kids, and we're like, we didn't really want to be here, but okay, it was free, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a very strange experience.
Amazing. So I'm going to guess based on the details of that story, which include a rap metal band and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, that you guys are around my age. I'm about to turn 41. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. We're all.
Yeah. I'm 43.
I'm 39.
So let's talk about the history of the band a little bit. You guys mentioned that you're based in Durham, but you formed in Texas. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is Justin. I grew up in Corpus Christi, Texas, and that's kind of where the first iteration started there. It started off kind of like a solo, just kind of more blues-based, and then it kind of turned into a three-piece where it had more of I don't know what to compare it to, like Portishead meets Roy Orbison sound. I know that sounds weird, but we had slide guitar, acoustic, and just real subdued drums. And then it moved to Baltimore when I went to grad school. But I feel like for the most part, it was solo from 2006 to 2010, basically. I went from Texas to Baltimore to Berlin, Zurich, played in Europe a little bit, but it was just solo stuff. Came to New York, and that's where I feel like the band started to really record records in proper studios and stuff. Before that, I'd record in my bathroom or bedroom, whatever had good reverb. And the band kind of started to record some records in New York. The first one was with my buddy Dave. It was kind of a two-piece at the time, and then it turned into a three-piece where we recorded Shiver in New York as well. And then my partner at the time and we moved down to Durham, North Carolina, and that's the Craigslist ad that Steve alluded to earlier. And that's kind of where things started for us, is I think in 2013, maybe 2014.
I think it was 2014, I think.
2014? Yeah. So that's kind of, we hit the ground running, kind of connected on Craigslist and started practicing and got down that record One Foot in the Flesh Grave, and we recorded that here, and that kind of started the whole thing.
Yeah. The weird thing out of that is I'm the only one that wasn't connected via Craigslist.
How did it happen, Mark? I can't remember. Did I reach out, or did Todd reach out?
I think you had reached out to me, and, via Messenger, through Facebook, and I think how that happened was, I don't know if you Todd and I were in a band for a few years together, and that kind of had fizzled out, and I think Todd may have hit you up, and then
yes, he definitely did.
After that,
yeah, I saw his Craigslist ad. I was like, oh shit, this guy's into all the same shit I'm into.
Minus Sam Hain.
Yeah, but then it was really funny too, because Todd and I's bass player in the band that we had before, the Mercators, the bass player in that band sent me a message, and he's like, and it was a Facebook, or a Craigslist ad, and he's like, do you know this guy? And it was Steve's Craigslist posting, and it had
shit.
all the bands that that I'm totally into, like the Young Widows, Shipping News, and a whole there was a list of them. I'm like, holy shit, yeah, I feel like I should know this guy, but I don't. And come to find out, it's we ended up being in the same band together.
That's weird. Yeah, and Todd originally wanted to be the bass player. He was like, hey, I want to play bass. And I was like, shit, Steve's already claimed that.
That probably worked out.
Connected over Danzig.
Medals would have gone to waste.
Yeah. But thank God, because Todd rips. He's a badass, and Steve's a badass, and everybody's a badass, so it just worked out in the end.
Yeah.
So, Justin, you mentioned this Roy Orbison meets Portishead sound that you started off with. How long did it take to develop the current dark punk, kind of post-punk sound that you guys are playing?
I feel like in New York, it started to get heavier. It started to get a little bit more aggressive. It with Bone Color Moon, which was our early EP, and when we recorded that in New York, it was a two-piece. So I felt like it was a more kind of soul R&B, old soul music kind of feel, and more croony. I felt I don't know, vocal melody was really important, and not that it's not now, but I felt like that took center stage, because as a two-piece, there's only so many things you can do. But then as a three-piece, I felt like it started to get heavier and heavier. So we recorded Shiver, and that, I feel like that intensified. People that were in the band at that time, they were kind of similar to what Steve mentioned, Misfit Sam Hain heads, but also what Mark referenced, big Young Widows fans. And so I felt like that started to seep in. I don't know if it was the environments I was around, or just getting more and more frustrated and cynical, living in New York and getting pissed off and hating people. I'm not sure. But when I got to Durham, I was really fucking angry. Not at first, but then my partner at the time left, and it was just a big dramatic mess. And The record that came out of it was amazing, but it was definitely a lot angrier, a lot more depressed or depressing. But that's just personally, like, you guys also contributed in your own ways, and like I felt like the music just transformed because of like who was in the band, and you know, we just kind of meshed magically and somehow pulled it off and was able to record it. Yeah, I felt like we captured lightning somehow. It was a good energy with one foot in the Fletch grave.